Welcome to the Nailed It Wall.
On this week's episode of the Nailed It Wall, we welcome the one, the only Mrs. Bonham. Let me tell you, she has some stories to share, people. It's going to be an awesome episode. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 43 of the Nailed It Wall. I'm Mr. Lane, the STEM guy.
And I'm Mrs. Schofield.
And I'm Mrs. Bonham.
Well, as we start every episode, we start off with our Nailed It, Failed It. We're so pumped to be here in the summer. We try to talk about coming back every other week, but me and you talked about that there's just so many amazing educators that we want to connect with during the summer that we don't really get that opportunity during the school year. So we're coming back every week, people. We're all in on the Nailed It Wall. Every week we're going to be back with a new episode, sharing some amazing educator stories. All right, Schofield, what is your Nailed It this week?
Well, I actually had two. Both of them were in the Failed It department. I've been redoing my bathroom, which both of you had seen prior to being redone. It was demoed, and we just didn't get back to it. And so this weekend, our light fixture arrived, and it was back ordered by quite a lot. I know, wait till you see it, it's so cute. Anyway, so Ella and I ran out, and she had this vision that we would get those kind of like in a laboratory, has those light bulbs that kind of you see the filament on purpose. It's supposed to look, sciencey. I don't know how to describe it. It's industrial, I guess.
We're following.
Okay. So anyhow,
you had me at lab.
It's really, really quite cool. And so we rush out to go get these light bulbs at Home Depot, and we spend. I gotta tell you, there's so much to choose from with light bulbs. I'm not really well versed in this, so we spend all this time in the aisle. We finally figure out which ones we need, and we go home. We're so excited, and we put them in, and they're yellow, so it just radiates like this eerie yellow. Think like dark basement in a scary movie yellow. It's not good. So then we have to package that up and rush back and get the clear light bulbs, which we get back and put up. And I feel like it's kind of, the wattage apparently matters, because it looks like so bright, perhaps like you're on the sun. So I gotta tell you, I didn't have another trip back to Home Depot in me, so we just have these really super bright white lights right now. But the light fixture is amazing, and I took a picture and I will show you both. And we also, same weekend, went to Hobby Lobby. My first time to go to Hobby Lobby since, I'm not sure what, March, before things closed down.
We love Hobby Lobby.
I know, Hobby Lobby. We've taken many a trips there. And so I go to Hobby Lobby with Alex. We're looking for a few things. And I buy this bench because Ella falls in love with it. She really wants this bench. So we buy it, and this nice boy named James, takes it out to the car.
Shout out to James.
Yeah, James. Who, I have to tell you, I said, don't worry, James, I'm going to block all the cars and make sure no one kills you. And he was like, well, at least I'd have the day off. And I was like, you'd have every day off. That's how that would work. But anyhow, so if you're hearing this and you work at Hobby Lobby, maybe give James a day off. That would be, apparently it was a cry for help. So James takes it out, and in the school year, 2 Christmases ago or something like that, my daughter bought me a Ouija board because she remembered vividly me saying, I love those as a child. I never had that conversation with her. It was a dream she had apparently. And in my face of horror when I opened that gift, that is not something that I wanted at all. And I haven't been able to get rid of this board. I tried to pawn it off.
Many times you've tried to pawn this thing off.
I tried to pawn it off. It's like a bad boomerang. It's like a bad voodoo boomerang. And it just keeps coming back. I tried to actually pawn it off on Mrs. V, and she left that still in its package in my classroom. So cleaned out my classroom, brought this. I was going to donate it anyway. So this sweet James boy is putting in the bench, and here's this Ouija board right when he opens the trunk of my car, so I look like this crazy person. And anyway, so yeah, I had 2 beautiful failed it. So
I love that. I remember our babysitter, we had a Ouija board, and then the lights started flickering in the house. Things were going crazy, and then we had to aren't you supposed to break the Ouija board in like 3 pieces and then bury it under a tree?
What?
So then I thought so. Well, that's what my babysitter told us.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
like, we were using this, and some little strange things happened, and then we buried it. I know where exactly. It's probably still buried today. I'm going to have to go back there
That would be amazing.
and dig it up.
Yes.
But the Ouija board, I remember you even tried leaving it in the staff room, and somehow it made it back to your room.
I am not
it was so
wanting that
weird.
thing. It is like I can't get rid of it. I keep thinking white elephant gift, but I just don't even think it's just bad. It's bad juju. So, anyhow.
Love those stories. Shout out to James. Shout out
Yeah.
to James.
Be
All right,
great,
Bonham,
James.
how have you nailed it this week?
Mine is a nailed it / failed it.
Love those.
I woke up this morning to
Which is a nailed it.
that is, at 7 a.m. I was sleeping in. To an email from Snapchat saying that I had logged in on a different iPhone device, an iPhone 6S, which I don't have, somewhere in Phoenix at 2:45 this morning, which did not happen because I was sound asleep. And so they tell you to change your password, but you can't change your password because your hacker already changed your password and your email and your phone number with your account. And so I was really sad because all my memories were gone from like 3 years. And then you freak out because now some random person has all of your videos and pictures.
That is creepy.
It's, yeah, not okay with that. But I contacted Snapchat, which, by the way, they don't have a customer service phone line for some reason. That's a thing. I don't know
Noted.
why. But my account has been deleted. So
Yes.
whoever hacked me didn't get away with it.
Take that.
Don't mess with the Bonham.
I will find you.
She has your IP address, and
I
she's
do.
coming.
Yes.
She's coming.
In Phoenix.
I
somewhere.
think somebody's been trying to hack my Facebook because I keep getting text messages in the middle of the night saying someone tried to log in and here's my new verification code. And it's happened last week 3 times. I just
It's because
ignored it,
people
though.
are home and they
Yes.
I
have
don't
nothing
know.
better to do.
Exactly. I think
Yeah.
that's what it is.
So
Like
I don't
it's
know. Someone's trying to get into Facebook. I gotta tell you, there's nothing really amazing in that place, but for me, but whatever.
we'll blame COVID there.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to that, or is that just
That's
like
my
your
nailed it
that's
slash failed it.
that's your nailed it / failed it? All right, my nailed it is we started off the summer. Both my kids, you're just so busy. Like my daughter's a dancer, my son plays all these sports, and because our boy Brady, like my kids are just all in on the scooter life.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do. Like they both got Luckies. I have a Lucky now too, and that's all they want to do. They just want to ride scooters all the time. And then our bikes just sit there. They just sit there. They had training wheels on them until 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, this is embarrassing. I'm like, I'm sick of this, and I just threw my daughter out there, and I'm like, we're gonna start riding our bike. And the first morning she's like talking to herself. She's like, I can do this. She rode her bike. My son's out there like, I'm not riding my bike. My bikes are stupid. And then that night he got on the bike, and both kids learned how to ride their bike in one day. Morning and night. And then now we're starting to venture on the Greenbelt Pass and in the neighborhood. And the kids are like, whoa, I didn't know there was so many paths here. And so my nailed it was just, getting out there. My daughter was wearing a dress last night, and she was just so excited. Got her helmet on, protect the melon at all costs.
That's right.
And we did the lake loop last night, and she was just so excited to actually hit the lake ride and ride her bike. So it was just a proud moment as a parent. Ryan was sulking, and I was like, get out of here. We don't want you on our bike ride. And then so that was my failed it. I was like, I basically kicked him off the family bike ride just because his negative attitude.
You
but
voted him off the island, like
I did,
right
but,
there. But kudos to her.
yeah.
That's a huge loop.
And that's what I love, like, about those neighborhoods. Like, nobody has, like, that lake loop. And, like, you see so many kids, like, and, I'm not riding a bike. Like, I'm riding my longboard. So it's, like, so much more fun. Like, all the kids are like, Mr. Lane's riding a longboard. Like, so the kids, like, my street cred just, like, goes up through the roof. Like, when they see me just come bombing in on my...
sick board.
Yeah, and shout out to our man Alex who tuned it up for me, too.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what? I'm like, you let him tighten it up? And then I was like, oh, my goodness, this thing's, like, so perfect now.
I was really
Because
nervous.
clearly I had no clue what I was doing. But so shout out to my daughter there. Love that both my kids are riding bikes now, and we're actually moving a little faster, and we're not just dedicated to the scooter life. And I love the scooter life, but it's like everything's a battle. I'm like, we're going for a bike ride, we're riding our scooters. They're like, scooters, bikes. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, you guys are driving me crazy. But that's my nailed it of the week here. But we have Mrs. Bonham here, our 7th grade math teacher extraordinaire. Just finished her 3rd year of teaching, and she's actually the second graduate of Sierra Verde to come back and actually teach. Danny Kerbat was the first one, and
Really?
I think she was that first year she graduated, she came back. Did you know Danny?
I went to school with her brother.
You went
You're
to
the
school with
year
the brother? Yeah, so you were the second person that actually went through there. So tell us about, we always talk about Sierra Verde. We all live in the Sierra Verde neighborhood. Well, do you live in, your mom lives in the
My
neighborhood?
mom and dad live here still.
They still live here. Roots, respect.
Right.
Love this place. So talk to us about your upbringing, going to Sierra Verde, what it was like growing up here. We always talk about what a unique, special place it is. Tell us from the student side.
So I went to Sierra Verde. I didn't go there until 5th grade. So 5th grade was my first year.
Where were you K through 4?
Lots of different places. Kindergarten, I was at a small private school, and then 1st, 2nd, and 3rd and 4th, I was at Desert Palms in Peoria.
Okay.
I love that you literally went through all
I
those.
did go through all those. Actually, I just lied to you.
First through fourth.
Kindergarten and 1st, I was at a private school.
Oh my gosh.
2nd through 4th.
Mrs. O would have fact checked anyway. She keeps us honest.
Okay, so 2nd through 4th was at a different school. Okay, so 5th grade, 5th through 8th. I remember walking into school. My mom took the day off and walked me into school and walked me up to Mrs. Ligori's 5th grade classroom. And just introduced me, and then that was my first day there. And ever since then, it's my home. I loved going to a K-8 as opposed to like a middle school. I just love the smallness and the community aspect, and everyone knows everyone. So that was really cool, always growing up like that. I was a huge sports person in middle school. I played all through sports, both years. I didn't really do any clubs now that I think about it, but
What
sports
clubs did they have?
I don't know, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
So, sports is where it was at for me. But Sierra Verde was like always the goal to come back to. Once I knew I wanted to be a teacher my whole life, but it wasn't math until high school. I had a high school math teacher, Mrs. Devney. Mrs. Schofield's daughter is going to have my math teacher's husband as a science teacher next year at
that's
Ridge.
exciting.
Really weird. Shout out Mr. Devney. Anyway, so she's the one who helped me decide I wanted to do math. And then the goal was Sierra Verde, always like in the back of my mind. That'd be so cool. I knew I wanted to do DVUSD. And then I remember in the spring when you're job searching and there was 7th grade math, Sierra Verde, and I applied and I had the interview and I got the call back, and yeah.
So you didn't have any contacts at the time. You just found that on your own?
Right. No,
Wow.
I went to DVUSD. You look at their list of school options, and that was the first interview I had. I was super pregnant. I was 9 months pregnant, and I was
That's
super
super pregnant,
sick.
yeah.
I was so sick. But I had my interview and apparently killed it. And I remember in my interview, Mrs. Rudisal/Hunter was in there, and I did not have her as a kid, but I knew of her, and my sister had her. So I remember walking in and being like, I know you. Like,
That's gotta be weird.
It was so weird. It has been a little bit weird coming back. At the beginning, I would say my first year was the weirdest of all, to like see the old teachers that I knew of.
Well,
Whoa,
you don't
whoa,
need to
whoa,
use the
whoa,
word.
whoa,
No,
whoa,
oh,
whoa, whoa,
Beep,
beep.
Not what I meant.
Back it up.
The teachers that were there when I
Yes,
was there
yes,
that are
yes.
still here
Yes.
is what I meant.
Yes.
Some of them had different names, but now they're married, and so that was strange too to have to call them a different name and remember that. But it's been really fun to see them, and even this year I taught a couple of my teachers' kids, and that's strange. Like, that is just hard to wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
Like,
Full circle right there.
So
when your kids, if they're still there teaching, when your kids come through, think about all of that.
Oh, yeah,
So
for
many
sure.
turns. Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Now, where did you do your student teaching?
I did it at ASU. So I was in ASU's program, but I did it at Cave Creek.
Okay.
So I was at Sonoran Trails Middle School in Cave Creek.
Oh,
for
it's
a year.
a little drive up there. Now,
It
what are some of the differences that you saw from like your student teaching experience, like at that school, compared to what you see at Sierra Verde?
So Sonoran Trails is a middle school, so they only have one in the district. So all of their elementary schools go to this one middle
Is it
school.
6,
It's
7, 8, or is it
huge,
just 7,
7, 8? So that aspect is completely different. With student teaching, you don't teach electives. So like right now I'm teaching in an elective class, so you're not responsible for that because it's a middle school. And so we had 5 math classes we had to teach, which is a lot when you have to do it like boom, 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 back to back. And now I have only 4 and then 1 elective, so you have some variation, which is nice. I don't have as many kids now. We had like 160. I remember, it's crazy. But just the vibe of this school is a little different. there's no way you're going to know all the kids. Like, at least here, I know all the 7th grade kids. I know all the 8th grade kids for the most part. And so I just like that aspect a lot more.
That's
closer and homier.
Now, you did your student teaching for an entire year at the same school.
Yes.
Wow,
So,
that's different than mine. And I was ASU too.
so ASU's, I don't know. Oh, you did master's.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So undergrad, you have to do a year of student teaching. It's super strict and hard, and you're still taking a full set of classes online. But I think that's what prepared me the most. So I got to see how school year started and how school year ended.
Yeah, with the same group too.
So you got the whole
And that was
feeling.
7th?
7th grade. So I did 7th grade math too,
Okay,
which
the
was
whole
so
time.
nice because I had
That's cool.
some resources to use.
And the cool thing too is this past year we had. Oh yeah, weren't you going to be like the lead? Like, weren't you two going to be like the lead for the ASU teachers last summer?
The candidates.
Oh,
Remember?
funny
yeah,
story.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they asked.
It is funny.
I just did not feel prepared enough. Being only a 3rd year teacher, they deserve someone with a little more experience. But I still got to know them, and maybe down the road, an intern or a student teacher.
I like how you both backed out of that,
Yeah, it's like,
It's a lot of work. Shout out to those people who do that, because
But
it's a lot of work.
kudos to you guys that like our admin like sees value in like how far you guys have already come, that they'd be willing to put these young candidates in your classroom. And the cool thing about last year on our campus, we probably had 5 to 7 like
way
ASU.
more.
We had 8 or 10.
8, yeah. And it was so cool. And we hired 2 of them.
hired 2 of them.
Two. Yeah.
Hired 2 of them on our campus, which is such a cool thing. And like you always talked about, like the goal is to be back at Sierra Verde, to be there. And like I think it's like just such a special place. Like once people are there, they just want to be there. And I know like those 2 candidates are just so happy to land where they did, being there.
Wait, can we just go back to this being can we talk about your 3 years?
Oh,
So,
yes.
like, you were saying right before we started recording how you've literally never had a full year. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So I just finished my 3rd year of teaching. I just got my little happy
Hey, we're
3
not-
years in
we're
the
not-
mail. Did
really?
you get it from? It's in the mailbox.
I'm sure it is.
District sends like the
This
little.
is awkward.
They send a little flyer thing that says like 3 years
okay.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're not probationary anymore.
No, we're not.
I know.
Yeah,
it's
we just
kind
went
of
through
a
that.
big deal.
So my first year of teaching was Red for Ed. So we were short a week
Had a
or
strike.
whatever, 8 days, whatever that was. My second year, I had my second child, so I had maternity leave, took that off, and then this year, #COVID. So not a full year of teaching yet. So
It's
shout out to
insane.
year 4. Let's go. Yeah, I don't know though. We'll see.
Let's go.
Now you both came in together. Now, what has it meant to have each other to kind of lean on and kind of go through like these crazy 3 years, and how much education has changed in terms of salaries? Like it's it's such an exciting time for like education. You think about the strike had so much of a positive impact. You think of COVID. You think of everything going on in the world. What has it meant for you guys to kind of come in together, both teaching middle school, dealing with these kids? What has that meant to be able to lean on each other?
For me, I don't think I would be here right now without Mrs. Schofield. I'm not kidding. In all aspects. For me, she was just always the go-to for questions. Even though we were both new, you knew the school and you knew people, and you kind of had more info that I didn't. So I remember just always going to you for questions or advice, and especially in the middle school area, like how do you deal with this student or this situation happened, and that has helped me so much.
We had like our first year. It was so nutty, It was so nutty, and it was nice to be new together. And but it was really interesting because I did have an advantage that year, since Ella and all of her friends were in my class, so it allowed me to kind of process being a first year teacher totally different, where I already had those relationships, and so it was automatic. But you went in and you did, like, I just was blown away. It was a big year for us. Like it really has been, and just all of it, the salary thing. And I think you and we've talked about this a couple of times. Like, we feel a little bit weird. Like, we feel guilty because you guys have already done this time. You've done your time where you had to fight for this salary, and I don't know.
We
benefiting.
moved up more than we thought we would ever in 15 years or whatever.
I feel fortunate, but I feel like
weird.
it feels a little bit strange to do that when people have been doing this way before us. And so we kind of got in at a good time in that respect. You've had some real interesting things this year, so I feel like you've earned every of your
Yes.
hey, you had some challenges this year, but middle
good.
school is like we
You just don't know what you're gonna get.
you don't know what
every
you're gonna
day.
get, but it's nice to have another person that you can relate to, that because for me, you've already had my kids,
Right,
that I
yeah.
have. And a lot of times I know kids
That's
that
what
are
I was-
coming into your
Yeah.
classes because I know a lot of the younger grades as well. So it just works.
Mm-hmm.
It's been weird.
Great advice there. So if you're new to teaching, find that what were you calling it earlier, a teaching wife or
Yeah,
something
your
like
work wife.
a work wife? I don't know.
Find your people.
You know,
Your squad.
just you got to find that person that's gonna push you, make you better, pick you up when you're down, and it's awesome to kind of hear that. Now you guys are besties. You guys do a lot together, but you also have an amazing team. Like your 7th grade team. Can you talk about like the impact like your team has had on you, and how that has helped you grow as an educator?
Yes, so I do have an amazing team. I lucked out in that department. They made me feel welcome from day one. They pushed me, but not too much. Like they gave me opportunities to take control over things and lead some things, but still supported me 100%. So shout out to Mr. Foote and Mrs. Chesbrough.
The man, the 80s dude.
I don't ever want to think about a teaching career without both of them,
I know.
and so that's a little hard sometimes.
It
But I
is.
still got a long time. We're good.
Yeah.
But they have just been so supportive. Just my first year, as a first year teacher, you need a lot of support in all areas, and they were always there. And then when I went on maternity leave, they took over my responsibilities and covered for me while I was out. They are just the best people that I know inside and out. And
They really are.
yes, so Mr. Foote, I call him my dad. I know that's weird. But he
We've
always
we've
like,
gone to a weird
I
place.
know. Sorry. So like, if I need something, I'll be like, "Can I borrow your pen?" He's like, "Okay, Dad, I'll go get you his pen, daughter." Like, so he makes fun of me for that sometimes. But I love them, and shout out to Mr. Galligan because
Yes.
he was my long-term sub when I was on maternity leave last year, so kind of part of our team.
Yeah.
And then he was with us again this year for 5.5 months.
Yeah.
So he's like
He's
an
like the
add-on.
glue.
He's
No,
a bonus.
and he means so much to the kids, and he
does.
works so
He cares
hard.
so
like
much.
so many nights, like I'd pop into my classroom and forget something. The lights on,
And
like at
he's there.
7 o'clock,
Yep,
and
he's there.
And he's such a big part of this community, and like talk about like rockets. Like we talked about him last week,
he's
running
there,
down
yeah.
to get everything, and he just loves the school, and like he can't quit this school.
No, he's amazing, and just I think what works is we all work really well together, and it's not my way or the highway type of thing. It's like we take a turn sharing ideas, and if we don't agree with something, we speak up. It's not you hold a grudge or don't speak up and just bite your tongue, but we're very respectful of each other's feelings and ideas.
And you guys all just like all the different experiences that you have, and you have a really unique perspective that they value so much because of your connection with the kids and seeing things just from a different viewpoint, being new and to teaching and all to SV. So I love that that's like such a good everyone brings so much to that table. It's been huge. I love how much Brent became a part of the team. He's just like such good peeps. So how is it for you though? So like you and I shared a responsibility, which I don't know what will happen with it this year, but the chants. So
I
you
have a
and
funny story
I,
about that.
yeah, we actually got I got voluntold I would be doing the chants.
I got told, here, this is what you have to create by this day. Good
Yeah.
luck. Here's last year's. Go with it.
I didn't have last year's.
You had some
I
big
had
shoes
no
to
idea
fill.
there was like a chant. That wasn't a thing when I was there.
Max's,
Oh.
I remember. So the chants were new, like
So Mrs. Chesbrough showed me a video from the year before, and I was like, okay. And I think first quarter we did kind of the same one, and then second quarter on out, like we created our own.
Max's chant was amazing.
It
I was
was,
like,
the
I've never
dancing.
seen anything like that. And I started out my career my first 5 years in a Title I school, and in one school we didn't have a gym, so it's like our assemblies were like outside, like
Oh my
on the first
gosh,
day of
that's
school,
so
like
crazy.
in August, like sitting around a basketball court. I remember one kid would be like, "Mr. Lane, my new crayons just melted," and like I just took a picture. I was like, and I saw that picture the other day, and I was like, I had like tears in my eyes, like as they were talking about this. But I remember like my first day at Sierra Verde, like kind of coming in, or at the end of the first quarter, the first time, or the back to school assembly, and just being like, this is a different place. I was like, I cannot believe like what's going on here. And then when they do the chants, and I take a video of every single chant my kids are doing, and I'm compiling like this 9-year video of like all their chants that I'm gonna like link together, and people just don't know like what a special place this is, and go on with your chant. I just had to interject there.
Well, side note, really quick. I remember our first year, you have like your back to school meetings in the library. Like all the teachers are together. And I had no idea what the expectations were. And I remember, maybe it was Paula. And she was like, okay, we're going to practice our dance for the first day of school.
Oh my
the
gosh.
teacher dance. What is that?
Yes, yes.
You don't know. I knew nobody. Like no kids or like, now I would totally thrive. But back then, I
She's
was
like,
so
I've been
nervous.
working on it.
Yes. Which we don't do them anymore, but I would have been
to
ready this
yeah.
year. But yeah, I remember that the dance the first day of school assembly or whatever.
I
But
do remember. Yeah.
the chants are super cool because my kids, so 7th graders, is the first time they're on the bleachers, and
It's
it
a
is like
huge
Christmas
deal.
Day. It's huge. It's
Yeah.
like their highlight of their lives.
It really is.
It so is, and so that's their number one thing. And then the chants, because in 7th grade you kind of get they know that usually you get to write your own, and it's different every quarter, and they get a bigger say in it, I think. By the way, our 4th quarter one was amazing. I just want to say that. I have it on video. Maybe we can show it next year, but it was great.
We'll tweet it out.
It is. So it was Little Einstein's theme song.
Oh,
that
is
helps paint a
awesome.
picture for you.
Love that song.
I just love
I
it
hear it
because
right now in my head,
I
like
love
just thinking
that
about
show.
Ryan.
Oh my gosh.
But the kids, I love it because the kids come in. I had 10 kids maybe. They came in 2 mornings. We wrote it. They're singing it. Like I have the YouTube song in the background to help them, but they write it all. They come up with the ideas and the dance moves and whatever they want. I love it. It's the coolest thing.
It's so much fun.
It's a lot of work, but it's so fun.
It is a lot of work, but what's so crazy is that so you have 7th graders that have never been on the bleachers before. 8th grade, everyone wants to get to that section on the bleachers. Like that is a big deal, sitting in that part. In fact, I've kicked 7th graders out that
Sounds
try
about
and
right.
sit with my kids. I was like, you earn this. Like you're not here. You're not an 8th grader. You wait. And so I was talking to Sam a couple weeks ago, and I was saying something about assemblies and sporting events and stuff, and just the unknown of that for us. And he said, you cannot be serious. I've waited my whole life to sit in that section
so
on the
cool.
bleachers. And he's like, we have to be able to sit in the bleachers. That we're 8th graders. Like we've earned that. And I was like, as an 8th grade teacher, I know how much those things mean. But, to other people, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but you don't realize it is that tradition that they wait and wait and wait, just like yours. Like they go from the floor, now they're in the bleachers. For us, it's like that's where they want to get, is that end thing. And so the chant experience, I did see previous ones, and it was Mr. McKenzie, and he used to do quite a big thing. He would spend a lot of time writing these things, and they were pretty elaborate, amazing. And so there was a lot of pressure, but I was like, all right, let's go. And so always the kids, you just put that in their, in their laps, whoever wants to take it on. And we had some pretty epic ones.
You had some epic ones with your 8th graders working so hard. What was your 4th quarter theme going to be?
So it was, I'm trying to remember.
I know.
Oh, it was Katy Perry. It was a Katy Perry song, right?
Firework.
No, it wasn't
Roar.
Firework. Nope.
Okay.
You're so close.
I don't know if I can name a third Katy Perry song.
No.
Oh, California Girls.
Yes, it was California
I got
Girls,
it.
which
Third
sounds bad.
No, it was
But
good.
it was really cute. And the thing was, is they wrote it very, very quickly, and then I had to teach it to them super quick, and then the assembly got canceled, and the kids were devastated. What people don't understand is trying to get 7th grade middle school kids, 8th grade middle school kids, you're trying to get them to adopt this chant, right? So you're trying to get them to stand up and sing
Be
and
into
do
it,
whatever, be into it.
That's hard.
And you're asking middle schoolers, which are usually, they want to be too cool for school, and darned if they don't do it, and they get so excited. And every time we do a chant, I'm really blown away by how much pride they end up putting into it. And you know, they know I go around my classroom with the bullhorn and I'll be like, James, you're not singing. You know, like I'll call them out. But at the same time, they love it. They love that opportunity. And it's like just the most amazing experience to see them.
I will say it is a little bit difficult. We don't really ever talk about chants, you
No,
and I.
we don't.
And that was never decided. It was never, we didn't decide that
It's
in a
like an
conversation.
unwritten rule.
It was just like, I'm not going to tell her. She's not going to tell me.
We do not.
But the
It's
kids,
a
my
healthy
problem,
rivalry.
I would have to steal the 7th graders that were in 8th grade math. I'd have to steal them from a class at the beginning a couple of times to go over it. Otherwise, because I taught it. So they wouldn't, if they don't have me as a teacher, they wouldn't get to learn it. And the problem would be they go back and they're humming it or they're singing it, and then it gets out to the 8th graders. And this quarter, 4th quarter, I think we were both going to do something TikTok related, and it was the same TikTok.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We didn't know that, and so the kids kind of told it.
But
The
we
kids
didn't-
told me that, but
But the thing that was cool about that is because early on when we first started doing chants, there would be a lot of talk about like, you know, slamming the 7th graders, or like there was that rivalry, but not in a positive way. It was very much like taking digs. And you and I both had no patience for that, and we kind of set things in a different trajectory with that. We were like, that's not how this goes. And so we would still hear like, oh my gosh, I heard what the 7th graders are doing. And so like there was that competition. But when we found that out, we were like, cool.
yeah, it
Let's
was.
go. Like, cool.
And I
we'll
think
both
you were
do
going to
it.
do long, like I was doing like a sentence and you were going to do the whole thing, and it was going to be different.
And remember,
It's totally
do you
different.
remember though the funny thing about that? What was the
Is
TikTok?
Renegade.
Oh, Renegade.
We were
that's
just
right.
going to go
So-
Renegade 7th grade, 7th grade.
No, the beautiful thing about the Renegade one was, first of all,
My daughter would have been so
Yeah,
excited.
Oh
that's
my
what I'm
gosh.
saying. We got the whole school involved with the
Yeah.
Einsteins and the Renegade. We were good.
it was going to be super, super fun. The cool thing about the Renegade thing for us was the kids wanted to teach all the 8th grade teachers the dance. And so when we went to laser tag, the girls were working with Mrs. V, and man, that lady is just the coolest ever. And so I have pictures and videos of them trying to teach her the Renegade.
Yes.
Again, we'll tweet those out.
I know.
Yes.
It's really, really cool. And but the funny thing is we would practice in the morning in STEM, and I had Zen who come in, and he'd been pretty reserved, a newer student, and all of a sudden I said, you know, could you? I had seen something. I'd seen something that he had done just on the, like, out of the corner of my eye one time, and so I knew he had this in him, but I just thought he might balk at this. And man, he did. He got up there and he led it, and it was like the coolest thing. And I had these group of boys that were leading it, and I'm so bummed we never had that chance, because the year before, was it? We had one other year where we had a quarter that we missed.
Really?
A chant for. Yeah. it
Coming
might have
back
been.
to Mr. Galetti's first quarter. Remember, we didn't do it like at the...
Yeah, there was a quarter that we didn't get to do it, and the kids were super, super affected by it then.
And the
as
teachers,
well.
too.
The teachers.
teachers.
It's tradition.
The teachers brought that back, and it was
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
Now, we talk about these moments, all these exciting highs, more highs than lows. Now, what do you love about teaching, like, middle school, and, like, your passion for math?
So I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I actually started to go, my degree was for high school. I just thought I always wanted to do older kids.
Thank goodness you didn't.
I failed Calculus 3. So, you know, you need Calculus 3 to teach high school. So, yay me.
Fail forward.
Yes. So,
Nailed it.
middle school, I wanted kids old enough that I could conversate with them. Not that you can't with the younger kids. The connections, and I just remember middle school being just, it's not always the best time. It's really difficult. They're kind of being put on their own for the first time. Parents kind of take a step back in 7th grade, and you're getting them ready to go to high school. And so I just remember wanting to build like positive relationships with them, and having somebody that they could look up to that was older, but like still kind of not in their age range at all. But
Pretty
you know,
darn
just-
close.
No, I'm not. But you know, that can relate to them. Like when they find out I have a Snapchat and Instagram, they freak out. And it's like, I've had this when you were like
Stars,
5,
just
you
like
know,
us,
like
yeah.
so I know how to use all their things, and some of
You're
their
like, I've been
lingo,
hacked.
but,
I've been
like,
hacked too.
Somebody made me a fake Instagram account. It was really thoughtful, but I found them. So, you know, I'm
Again.
really good at
Note to
What's the
self:
word?
do not cross
Nope.
Mrs. Bonham.
I can find you.
Like, she's ending this podcast,
Yes.
and she's gonna go find that IP address. She's gonna knock on that door and find out
Yes.
who has that iPhone 6S,
right.
and be
I'm
like,
really good at
"I'm
that.
here for my memories." I'm
Right.
like, I came here to do two things.
Oh yes, I just love this age, and I just love the relationships you build with them. I relate to a lot of them with the sports, and just a lot of their interests are my interests too still. So that's really cool.
And I love like how excited we get for our student staff games.
Oh,
Like
yes.
it's like you
Favorite
know,
day of the year.
It's so much fun.
It's so much fun.
it's so much
and
fun.
we won this year, so
I think we win like all the time.
We-
Like you know, like
No, but
like we
really won.
legitimately
Yeah.
didn't
have to cheat this.
Yeah, we didn't have to
Yeah,
cheat. It
like-
felt good.
it
the,
did.
the cheating has put to an end. Like I remember like we were doing our softball, baseball one, and we were losing like 4-1, and then like I just came bombing around, and like I tripped, but I slid
You
head
slid,
first.
yeah.
I scored, and I was like I pretend I did it on purpose, like pump up our team, and then we went on to score like 6 straight runs, and it's like. The kids like remember that stuff so much more, and like they take so much more pride in it. Like whenever I see the kids out and about, they're like, "Remember that basketball game?" And we just have so much fun, like as a staff, and those are those moments that we get to experience as adults, and it's just so fun. And
Afterward, we're all like a puddle, though,
We're
right?
like-
We're like, we had to teach today.
Oh, so good.
all of
So
us are
tired.
so tired.
I think that's another thing I like about middle school is like I get to go watch them in sports
I
or
know,
the
we
play
love
or
that.
other clubs, like
Yeah.
in art, like all that. You get to see them in other aspects outside of your classroom, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
now, what do you see as the biggest challenge to teach in middle school, or just being a teacher in general? You're still fairly young. You're going to your 4th year of teaching.
I think at the beginning I am on the younger side, I guess.
Yes,
That
you
is a
are.
teacher
Yeah.
that they've had in years past. Like they haven't had someone.
I feel like we're drawing some
Like-
lines between us, older,
Sorry.
younger, like
Like,
okay, boomer.
My first year, I remember there was 2 kids, like I had gone to school with their siblings. So like, that's weird. And just
What that happens to me all the
like,
time.
just remembering that line, like you're the teacher, but sometimes it's hard to navigate that respect line.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm a little bit younger and I might be like your sister, but like, I'm still your teacher. I haven't had a lot of issues with that though. I feel like for the most part, the respect is mutual, which is awesome. But sometimes that does get a little bit confused, I think, for the kids somewhat. Because
Yeah.
I do have a Snapchat and an Instagram, and I know their TikTok things or like, stuff like that. But the other thing has just been, I want to say, navigating the whole work, home, school balance thing, But year 3, I feel like I finally found it a little bit more. So
And that's tough, And
is.
shout out to Mr. Bonham. It's
for
like
real.
many times like we've always talked about like having a significant other and not being in education and not understanding like the pulse of the job and constantly the emails and kind of going back and forth, and it's something that I think I don't know if I would prefer like someone in education, but it's like it's tough to explain like what we do and like you talk about like student staff game and those memories and reaching out to a kid. It's hard to convey that, so like your significant others are, such a pivotal role for us to be able to do all those things and give those to the kids there. Now, how old are your boys now?
3 and 18 months.
Wow, 3 and 18
So,
months.
it's a
Now,
fun time.
yeah, so your hands must be full.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
talk to us. How was this COVID experience
gosh.
with the boys?
So, we're fortunate enough to live within like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I guess, of both of our parents. Like, we're very close. We see them multiple times a week. And so when the whole stay-at-home order went into place and all of that, like, we shut down. We didn't go anywhere for like 6 weeks. Like, and I'm home with them during the summer. I get that stay-at-home mom feeling, but like, just to be abruptly put into that and for an extended period of time with no end date in sight, like, it's a big adjustment.
Plus teaching. Yeah.
Plus my husband working from home.
Yeah.
So, the kids aren't used to being home like that. Like, we're used to, like, going to Target or the library or, like, just getting out. And so it was a little rough. I mean, I'm really thankful now that I had that time and I got to experience that. However, there did come a point at, like, 7 weeks, I think it was, where, like, my husband and I, like, had a serious talk. He's like, mental health is super important. Like we got to do something because I was going a little bit cray cray. And
Hashtag true.
yeah, so we have a home sitter, so she does home daycare out of her home, and she had been like full lockdown, like nobody, whatever. And so we decided we would send them back 3 days a week so I could teach, because that was really hard to do.
You were much happier.
I was so much happier.
Happier.
I remember the first day Jeff was like, this is what we should have done all along. Like, it was a lot. And so I'm thankful for that. And so now I'm home with, like, we stopped with the sitter because I'm on summer break now. But now we can go I can go to my parents' house now, and get out a little bit. So it was rough. I don't know how people do this all the time. I don't know if I'm made for stay-at-home momness, but shout out to those that are.
You did a good job.
I think it was hard. It was abrupt.
I think all of those things, though, combined is, if you're a stay-at-home mom, usually you're not confined to your home.
To your house, right.
So you would have play dates and you would have outings and you would do stuff. But we were
museums,
literally...
Right.
You're like locked down and with them all the time, abruptly, trying to keep them quiet so that
we
Jeff
couldn't be
could
upstairs.
work.
We had to be locked downstairs, which is not that big. The weather was super great, so we would go out for like 3 hours. Like we would just go sit in the grass and just run. But
then to do the teaching on top of it, I mean, I kept thinking every time, and I would say this to you, and I know you had a mutual respect for Rob because of what he was doing in the ages of his kids, but I kept looking at both of you going like, I've got it pretty good, because that takes it to such a different level, the whole home learning experience.
Well, and I don't know I kind of think I'd rather want toddlers at home than having to teach to kids online on top of
so what he did was crazy.
Both aspects of it. It was just,
Yeah. And you would always say, you're like, I don't know how Rob's doing that, because to be a teacher and a teacher, your kids is a lot. So
I'm happy that has passed.
Yes. Now we've said it's passed. Now, where do you stand? What do you think August is going to bring us?
What do I think, or what do I want?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah.
Start with what you want.
Ideally, if we could do it safely, obviously, full back. I'm all in. I'm ready.
I think we all are.
However, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I want to be back in my classroom for sure. If I can't get 5 days a week, I'll take 4 or whatever it is. I will take any time. I don't have to work from home.
Yeah.
But I think that's the main idea, is to just get back in my classroom.
I think it's hard to kind of watching everything. I mean, here we are, it's June 15th. It's hard to think we are starting. This is technically our 4th week of summer. We're starting the halfway point of our summer. And then you think about it 4 weeks from now, it's like, oh my goodness, we got to be getting back into that mode. And, there's
crazy.
so much unknown. And Arizona, is a hot mess right now in terms of
literally
cases.
Hot.
Yeah. And so it's scary. And you both do a good job of following up, being like, what's this district doing? What's this doing? And we had a great conversation before we started recording about, what we want, what we think is going to happen, and this back and forth. I think it's the uncertainties is the hardest thing.
Yeah, there's just nothing that's clear at all, and that's no one's fault, right? It's nobody's fault, because there's a lot that the district doesn't know. There's a lot that the state doesn't know. There's still a lot of up in the airs, and there's no cohesiveness among districts.
Right.
So you're just kind of, everyone, I think, is trying to do the best with the information they're given, and that looks different district to district, which is what's really hard for us as teachers, is we are watching other districts and they're like, oh, they did this, so then maybe that's what we're going to do. But then another district does something totally different.
And I also think in the world of COVID, 2 weeks, it has huge changes. 2 weeks from now could be totally different. And so, I mean, I know Deer Valley's waiting a little bit longer, and other districts have already announced things. So it's just that.
But then you said have announced things, but even maybe have morphed that a bit as well.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. It's just it, as Rob loves this word, it's uncertain times. It really is, though. It is uncertain.
And people ask us, parents, or
parents think we know.
Gosh,
Yeah.
I think we know.
Out on them. Yeah.
It's I'll know when you know, type of thing.
And honestly, we might
like
know
you
right
said, you're a parent. You fill out the survey. Yeah. The survey's going out today.
So we'll see, but.
And it's not a criticism against anybody. It's just the times that we're living in, and it's them trying to process new information. And ultimately, I think everyone is being mindful about child safety and teacher safety, and how can we make that work and still do education in the way that we know that kids deserve and need.
And I think that's all this on Twitter. But there's not one idea that's going to work for everybody. Like, and so it's
That's
like
true.
figuring out what's going to work for majority, where and understanding it's not going to work for everybody. So having options available. So
Yeah.
Which is such a
I don't
crazy
know.
thing in terms of education too. So like now it's like, there's a fear of number of, you think of things go back to funding, like people pulling out for homeschooling, and that goes to an equity thing. It's like, maybe people have those beliefs, but they can't because of work. And then you think of, there's an online option all of a sudden available for students, which is crazy. It's like, is that an option open for K-12 where parents could be home, or they're not at home, but they're, I think that's exciting that, we're moving to that point of offering, an online thing. But, we're people. We love being in the classroom. We love seeing each other. We love sharing our stories. Some of our funniest moments are like, I love like when you'd pop in the announcements and you're like, it's like Outland. Like we got like the lights, and
those
like,
are the coolest lights I've ever seen.
and like,
they really are.
but those are the moments that, like at the end of the school day of like sharing a story, and the three of us are in there just like talking, having fun, and, Sam's in there, and, that's your student, your son, obviously, but those are the moments that were lost, like in those weeks, and, and like the impact of having a teacher in front of them.
Well, it's like, teaching, how we always talk about, it's all about relationships with the kids, but it's not just about the kids. It's about the connection you have on your campus and the community of support. So all of a sudden we had to do our job not in front of the kids, but then without our support system as well. So we were teaching in isolation, which is not how there are teachers that are kind of an island, right? There's teachers that go that route, but it's a lot harder to teach that way. And I feel like something is lost when you approach it that way. And so our campus is definitely not like that. And we need each other. And all of a sudden that was like stripped, and we're all trying to do that in these little isolated pockets.
But there was like so many special moments, like, the Lean on Me video. You think of Rudicel's birthday, like in the parking lot, and just like all these cool things that we came together. Now, being a student, you might think like your school is a special place, and it's like Disneyland of education. Now, you wanted to come back to Sierra Verde. That was like your goal. Like, now, did you ever think, it's hard to like look at things as a student, a kid, high school, college student. Did you ever think it really was like this amazing place? Like, what were you most blown away, like, from the teacher side of everything?
Well, I feel like we always tell the kids like how special Sierra Verde is. Like, they hear that a lot, whether on announcements or like from teachers. Like, they just hear it as they're growing up there. And I don't think I really understood it or valued it until you get to high school, because coming from a K-8, you're kind of a small fish in a big pond. Like, where kids coming from middle schools have a lot more resources and connections. And so just looking back, like I had only started there in 5th grade, but that was 4 years of being with the same kids. And a lot of these kids are there from kindergarten. And so,
or preschool back then.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
crazy.
so they have the same people, and then they're thrown into Ridge or wherever that are triple the size that they are. And so looking, like, it's not until I think you're out of there that you look back and realize how amazing it really was. And then for me to come back and realize, oh, this teacher's here, and this teacher's still here, and this teacher's here, like, that says something as a teacher. Like, these people stuck around all these years because it must be that special. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon or ever. And I plan on my own kids going there one day.
#truth.
So I just feel very blessed and lucky to have gotten in when I had the chance, because I'm not leaving.
Well, I love like you're rocking your Dunder Mifflin shirt. I think of like the classic Andy quote. It's like, how do you know like we're not stuck in the golden day, the good old days? Like, like I just love that quote. Like, you think of so much of what you want to give your kids, and I often talk about like, there's 3 or 4 moments a day where, I have the best view of the entire campus, like I see everything, but I get to stop and I just see my kids walk and talking to their teachers, and like, see those impact. And, you talk about your boys now. How are your boys different?
Oh, geez. Well, size and weight wise,
Very similar right now.
they're 19 months apart. However, they are like 6 pounds apart.
Yeah.
So, Easton is very social. Like, was talking full sentences at like 19 months. Like his speech and vocabulary and brain is just like out there.
And he's very loving.
He's very loving and sweet and just for the most part. Jaren is more. He is more subdued and shy initially, but then he is like our wild child. That's what we call him. Oh my goodness. His new thing is he does this. Okay, I'm gonna say it, but he goes nah 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 like over because he wants you to sing the Frozen song. I'm not gonna sing it right now. Like that, the intro to Frozen is what he wants you to sing. It's so funny. He's a little behind in the word department, but he just screams for anything he wants, whether he's happy or sad.
Like straight
Like
up scream.
nothing you've heard before. Like bloody murder screaming.
It
It's
is a
so
scream, yeah.
But they're fun. They're finally playing together, so that's been
awesome.
huge. Fighting, they've been fighting too.
My
so,
favorite though, like there were so many things that I loved about this time that you've been. So we would do our walks once or twice a week. We'd go over to Bonham's, and she'd have the boys. And the first time I came over, remember Easton came running up to hug me.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like we can't hug each other because of coronavirus, and he was so upset.
He was
was like trying to hold my hand, and we're like, you can't do that. And so remember, he stopped us on the walk, and he was like, "Can I just touch Christy's foot?"
Yeah, and he
like
bent down and he stopped scootering.
Yeah, he just he just needed
He
that
just stopped
connection.
and then he just like touched her foot.
Yeah, and then we stayed there for a minute, and then we rode on, and it was just so precious. But you realize, like, that's a little, and like isolation is hard on everyone, from the very young to the very old, and it's like you forget that he was so crestfallen. And remember his birthday and how you didn't know how you were going to tell him that people weren't coming over for a big party, and he couldn't understand that. And like
he asked, like, it was his birthday. It was like noon that day, and he kept saying like, "When's my birthday?" Like, because he wasn't comprehending that he wasn't having a birthday party. We did a driveway one, so that helped. We had a cake, and our parents came in the driveway and stuff. But
yeah, Easton has been really funny. And then I really love I don't know if he's still doing it, but every morning Janine would wake up and he would be sitting on the foot of the bed, and we're talking about waking up at like what times? It was like really early,
like
in the morning,
5:30.
and he would just be staring at her.
Oh, in the night he'd just stare at you. That's the creepiest thing as a parent. Like, that is the worst thing to experience.
I remember experiencing that, so I felt your pain.
Like, you can feel somebody looking at you, and you wake up and their face is just in your face.
Or then how you would find different places in your room to sleep, on the dog bed.
He would come in our room in the night, we wouldn't know, and we would wake up and he's at the foot of our bed, like with the dog. It was the strangest thing. And then we found him on the dog bed. My favorite was under the desk. The chair is still pushed in, so I don't know how he got in there.
We have
awesome.
pictures. There were so many. So we should talk about one of the things that really helped us get through the isolation period before we got to really see each other. Remember when we started doing that too, but Draw-saurus.
Well, Mrs. Schofield started a trend because then we couldn't play sometimes because so many people wanted on Draw-saurus.
I know. I feel
like the numbers went too high.
I know it did, but so I told you.
And these are all people you knew.
No,
but the website would just say like 900 players.
Like you couldn't even create a new room because it was too full. But so I had told you got to get on, and I kept telling you, you guys got to get on.
We did it with like Mrs. Copenhaver and Coach Thomas. It was so fun, and their kids and Sam, and like we had this huge room going on.
It was so much fun, and before we could all get together, that like we would just be belly laughing and it was so much fun, and you realize we created new connections in those moments because we couldn't be together, and so that was a really huge.
And then I taught my family, and we've done it.
Then she got into it. Yeah, it's been so much fun. I'm telling you.
Now, have you guys been? Like we talk about our kids, like, there is no place like Sierra Verde, and like there's no other place like I'd want my kids to go through, and like I'm very thankful for that, and like like you want to give that and be a part of that for your kids, and you have your last year with your boy here at Sierra Verde, and he wants all those like little moments and experiences. Now, what did Zoom mean to you guys? Were you guys FaceTime, or do you guys Zoom to kind of connect through all this, or
with each other?
Yeah.
Oh, FaceTime.
FaceTime.
Group FaceTime. That's
FaceTime.
a thing.
I know.
I hadn't really done that before. Quarantine.
Mackenzie taught me that. Like,
It is.
That was fun.
FaceTime was fun. Sometimes, maybe we did. I think mostly we just did
Zoom was like school.
FaceTime. Yeah.
Zoom and school go together in one place.
Zoom was kind of a tough thing for Bonham and I both. We both had some experiences that were a little bit less than amazing. But it was definitely the FaceTime was huge. But we benefited so much from all of that time, that downtime, because we ended up doing that
Well, I
quite
feel like
a lot.
we've talked more than we would have had we been in school. Like, I mean, we see each other at school. I see you a lot at school, but...
And all of us were super depressed.
Yes.
At different times.
And so you just knew when you needed to
we were so, like, some of us were really struggling bad at different times.
We had a group text, and it was every day just checking in, like, where are you today? Who needs help today?
Yeah.
Like,
it's true. And we were, I mean, thank goodness for connections, because that's the thing, you know, you just don't realize how much you need that until you need it.
And we would have weekly FaceTime dates, and then that kind of rubbed off on my husband, and so then he started his weekly game nights with his friends. So the connections part.
Mr. Bonham, he is did you know he is the man of God now, or he's going to be? Just so you know.
So my sister's getting married in 2 weeks, and my cousin is no longer able to fly out here because, COVID, and marry them. And so Jeff got ordained and will be marrying.
So I call him Reverend Bonham.
Nice. The Rev.
He's
Rev Run. Like,
I'm really excited about this.
Is he excited?
He is. I think he thinks he's really cool.
He is really cool. This is a big deal. I'm super excited for him.
Now, is he feeling like he's going to go traditional, or is he going to like put his whole
own
spin? Okay, all right.
Like, I would say half and half. It's really fun because now I'm the maid of honor, and so then he'll be the minister, whatever, preacher,
man of God,
and then and then Easton is a flower boy.
Oh wow!
Girls. And then Jaron just gets to sit there because he wouldn't make it down the aisle, but. So yeah, we're all in it now.
This is you're all in. This is pretty awesome.
It's a family
excited.
I'm telling you, you mark my words. I will be ordained and I will officiate someone's wedding. I'm just telling you. This is like
it's a really cool experience.
I wanted to do that for my sister's wedding, but I can't remember if her husband put the kibosh on it. Someone did.
Kibosh.
Oh, they're all for it. Like my sister and her fiance are. Like,
I'm telling you, just imagine I can put a really good spin on something.
That would be tough to be the maid of honor and like it's like
some cheesy jokes.
Good.
Dad jokes.
Yes.
Oh god.
Gotta love the dad jokes.
I'm gonna start texting some good options. Yeah.
The best part would be if he just like comes on a room of crickets, like it's like you're just bombing up there. You're like you're dying.
Do you
you're dying.
His opening line?
Yes.
I'm just gonna say it. So my maiden name is Abraham. Okay, so he said his opening line is now I have married both Abraham girls.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yes.
Nice.
He's crushing it.
There, Reverend Bonham. I this message.
Well played. Yeah. Like I think it's gonna be all downhill after that one. It's like but he's coming out the gate swinging though. Like well played. Well, this was an awesome time to sit down, like talk about the power of connections, about Sierra Verde, your journey into education. I had a blast. I know you were super nervous coming on, and I was like, it's just like us talking. It's going to be like a fun time where we're going to have so many laughs. But this is long overdue. We've been saying for so long. I'm like, we got to get Bonham on, and with the littles and your crazy schedule, it's tough to lock you down. So. Yeah. We're so thankful that you took an hour out of your crazy summer break to sit with us, and I just had so many laughs, like thinking of like the things that we do and the things we get to experience as educators. As we always say, people, if you can be anything, be kind. If you loved hearing stories about student staff games, the student chant, Bonham's story, marrying 2 Bonhams, how's that possible?
No,
Abrahams. So make sure you hit the subscribe button every Tuesday. The latest episode, The Nailed It Wall, will be downloaded to your phone. If you want to see videos that we talked about, pictures, make sure you follow us on Twitter. You can find me at Mr. Lane the STEM Guy.
And me at A Positive Proton.
And me behind the scenes at SV Viper Pride.
And no longer on Snapchat.